left it late against League Town, but you got the job done.
That's always the case, isn't it? I mean, you go back to the times where you're learning about football and learning how to play and how to win games of football, and quite often you can win a game in the first few minutes of it, by bringing the right kind of mentality or attitude or the right style of football. But invariably, games do tend to go down to the last few minutes, and people getting fatigued and making wrong decisions. And as we stood, we had enough players on the field to play positively going forward, that chances were still coming. And albeit we created probably 9 or 10 decent chances in the first half, to be 1-0 down at half time, a lot of managers would be thinking, wow, what do I do now? Do I go route one? Do I start hitting the front man a little bit earlier? But to give the players the credit they deserve, because they won the game in the end, to give the players that credit, they stayed with the game plan, they stayed in the moment, and eventually the goal scorers were still on the pitch when we did score the first goal, and the equaliser goes in, and we're in the ascendancy. And for Amari to get 2 goals was great to him, great credit to him. But at the same time, it put us in the hat for the next round and gets us back to winning ways, because that's the most important part. If you lose an FA Cup game against a team from a lower division, nobody's got a divine right to win a game of football, but you lose it by definition to a team from a lower division, straight away it could be a little bit of a mini crisis, having lost the last league game. But that wasn't to be the case. I think we stuck to the game plan. That was the most important and most pleasing thing, was we stuck to a game plan right until the 92nd minute when the second goal went in, and consequently got ourselves in the hat.
And you now know you're off to Buxton in the next round.
Yeah, which is, they had a replay, they had to go to an extra game. We watched the game, and Buxton got through. So yeah, it'll be a tough old game, but we've got an important league game in between now and then, which is the home visit of Alfreton when they come into town. I mean, a team that probably knows its way around these divisions, and that's not being disrespectful of Alfreton. They're a hardy bunch. They play football in a certain way, and we've got to have a game plan against them to try and get back to winning ways in the league. That's the most important part, and the most part of my days, to tell you the truth, are trying to make sure that the standards of the football club, that the basics are maintained, and that the culture is in place. And all of them things are big words now at Kidderminster, and hopefully we'll be showing that on Saturday again in a nice home fixture.
Just looking at the cup ties locally last weekend, I mean, obviously you had League here, we were level below you, but they gave you a game. I'm sure you agree with that. Hereford were taken to a replay by Ilkeston and got through eventually. Redditch went to Sheffield, who were 2 levels below them, drew there and then lost at home. There are a lot of good players playing at levels below this, because, okay, they raise it for a one-off game, I accept that, but nonetheless, I saw the Sheffield and Redditch game, they looked a useful side. And
take it to the next level up if you wanted to, Coventry against Spurs in the cup last night, and as I say, it doesn't matter what level you're playing at, Trev. It's nobody's got a divine right to win a game of football, and if you prepare properly, the opposition might still do something different, and you've got to be ready for every kind of tactical battle first and foremost, but the physical side of it as well. There's more than one way to skin a cat. As we keep on hearing people saying about the higher level, everybody's playing a lovely style of football, but there is different ways to play football, and it doesn't necessarily have to go through the thirds. If you've got a target man and you can hit that target man with a bit of quality, and you can get the second ball from there, which I believe Alfreton are game at, very, very game at, so you've got to be able to defend against that and play the style of football that we've been playing. But we've got a collective mindset at the club at the moment, and that collective mindset again is at Agbra. That's a key factor for me, because if we can win this next home game, I'll be looking closely at the players that can handle travelling away. Because I don't want it to be a home and away season. I want it to be, yes, we play some good football, because you've seen the surface. We walk past it every time we're doing an interview. The sun's shining, the sprinkler system's on, the ground staff are at full work, full tilt, and the pitch is in immaculate condition. So if you want to play football out there, you can do. But we've got to learn to travel as well. So that's going to be a key factor this season, being able to go to places like Alfreton when it comes around. But that's for another day. Saturday is all about, do we prepare properly for Alfreton in town, who's going to be stubborn, who's going to come with a game plan that's going to try and upset people. It's going to try and quieten the crowd, the home crowd. All of these are key factors. And if we can get over them key factors in an advantageous way, then we've got a good chance of winning the game.
I've seen a bit of Alfreton in recent seasons. I don't suppose it's changed a lot their approach really, in the sense that they get it forward. They've got a howitzer of a long throw from about the halfway line if they want it, so they get it into the box as early as they can generally.
I don't mind that, you know. I don't mind any coach that wants to come here and throw a ball into your penalty box. You've got to have centre halves to be able to deal with that. You've got to have a goalkeeper that's active or proactive when the ball comes into his penalty box. It was quite interesting watching Man City against Milan last night. And first 20 minutes of the game, it was counter-attacking football. Man City were on the front foot, and Milan came to get a point. That's what it looked like. But they then realised that they had an opportunity at counter-attacking football. Then the ball goes out for a throw-in in the final 15, 20 yards, and Inter Milan set up for a long throw, and I'm thinking, what's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with that. Sam Allardyce will tell me a million times, if you can get the ball into a dangerous area enough times in a game and get commitment on the end of them things, then you've got a chance of something dropping to you and winning a game of football. We had a player called JJ Okocha, who everybody in the world of football thought was a magnificent player. Sam Allardyce brought him to Bolton Wanderers not just because of that, but he had a long throw in. It's crazy, isn't it? JJ Okocha, one of the most talented players in the game of football, was at Bolton Wanderers with his long throw in. Now that for me is an intelligent man, an intelligent football manager who knows there's more than one way to skin a cat, knows for sure if you keep on knocking at the door it'll open eventually. And if you get the ball into a dangerous area on the field of play, and we know where them dangerous areas are, invariably both 6-yard boxes, if you can do that often enough in a game of football, you might win it.
You touched on the difference between your home and your away form. Home form here is very solid generally. Away form, is that a concern? Not
a concern in my head at the moment. It may be a game plan that we need to address. We can't pretend to play pretty football or good football all the way through the season, because as you know, within the football season there are seasons, winter, spring, summer, autumn, whichever one you want to call it, and that dictates to a certain extent, or can dictate, certainly in the British game, and you have to again cut your cloth accordingly. But we might have a change of system possibly, or a change of individual game plan, and what I mean by that is getting round pegs in round holes for sure, but maybe more experienced players away from home. I don't know. I'll eventually address that situation when it comes around. But for Saturday, the game plan is try and fill the stadium first and foremost, get the supporters off the seats and behind us. I think they come in and they're realising that we're playing some decent stuff, so they're here to be entertained. It'll be a good crowd for sure. It'll be a competitive game of football, and Alfreton will try and turn it into a game that's akin to their style of football, which is their divine right, absolutely. But nobody's got a divine right to win a game of football. You've got to make sure that you're mentally and physically prepared for whatever comes out of their change room, and then mentally and physically prepared for what we're ready to do and ready to give to Alfreton, and that's hopefully a decent game of football and a winning game of football.
You've been telling us for a couple of weeks you've been looking to bring a player or two in. You've got one, you've got a striker in.
We have, yes. Again, full credit to the backroom staff for the recruitment side of things. I think Matty will put me right here, I think it's our 10th player in since the turn of the season, since the turn of the year. And to get another league player in, which is music to my ears. It's a good education that he's had at Bradford City. The lad knows where the back of the net is, there's no doubt about it. We've watched him in training a couple of days, and my word, one or two eyes just popping up and just saying, wow, this kid can score goals, you know. Haven't seen him in a full game, as it's, you know, obviously you want to wait for that first one to come around, and he starts from minute one and see whether he's got the ability to get in them areas and put the ball in the back of the net. Then that's what you'll be judged on, that's what he'll be judged on. But he knows that he isn't going to just walk into a team, because there's a lot of competition for places. But he also knows that when he gets in a starting shirt, that he needs to score goals, and Amari knows that, Ashley Hemmons knows that, Ben Beresford knows that. The players who are playing in them positions, they know that their responsibility is to finish off the good moves that we're coming up with. If that's the case, again, it's a recipe for success. But Harry's come in, we've looked at him a couple of days, he's really enjoyed the training, very professional, very full time, which is obviously the kind of thing that he's been attracted to. And the standard, he's been very complimentary with regards to the standard of training. So hopefully we can carry all of that into Saturday's game, and maybe, who knows, he comes off the bench if he doesn't start the game and bags a winner.
Does he have any first team experience? I appreciate he's only 18, I think, but does he have first team experience?
Not to my knowledge with regards to Bradford City, but he has played men's football before. But at the same time, it's the educational part of it for me. You know, it's what he's come through, who he's been, you know, coached by, and the experiences from that he's learning where the back of the net is. But he has this instinct, what I've witnessed in training, this instinct for to get on the end of a cross, being a dangerous area, and when it comes to him, he sticks it in the back of the net. So he's got a high percentage of goals per shot ratio, and hopefully he can carry that into a game on Sunday.
You mentioned Ben Beresford there. What's the latest news on him, and how's the injury situation looking in general?
Ben's coming along. I was going to say nicely there, but whenever you see one of your strikers or a guy that you know can put the ball in the back of the net, which we've witnessed already, sitting in the stand not being able to do anything, it's a little bit of a frustrating time for him and me. But Ben's going back to Blues on Tuesday for a strength test. If he comes through that with flying colours, we'll probably get the all clear to step up his training, and if that's the case, he maybe still a couple of weeks to go. He's missed a chunk of football, that's the thing. He's been in training every day, he's been with us every day, so he's really enjoyed coming in to the environment that we've created at Kidderminster, and he just wants to get out there and prove us right that we brought him in for a reason, and the reason is to score goals. And if he can do that, it'll be a couple of weeks down the lane. He'll have competition with places in front of him by that stage, and hopefully all of that competition, as we well know, if it's at the business end of the pitch, goal scorers have got to score goals if they want to stay in the team. That for me is me licking my lips, but we want to make sure that when he comes back he's fully fit. And
besides Ben, how are you doing otherwise?
Besides
Ben, how are you doing in terms of injuries? Otherwise?
Just Paul Downing is come back from a scan report that he's got a grade 2 tear in his calf. So he's going to be another 2 to 3 weeks before we get him back on the training ground, which is disappointing because Paul's had such a good start to the season, and that relationship that he was formulating with Alex Penny was blossoming quite nicely. But Alex Penny, fingers crossed, if he trains again tomorrow, that'll be a full week's training, and is every chance of starting the game on Sunday.
And just finally on that point, the medical side of things, it must have changed since you were playing to a degree. I'm not trying to age you particularly, Phil, here, but you know, you can get a player in for a scan now. You know the extent of that injury within hours, basically, or you can do if you have to. Whereas before, it was pretty much down to the trainer or the physio, if you go back 20 years or whatever.
And not heard that for a while, the trainer.
Well, yeah, sorry.
I'm fine.
It was a trainer back when I played, didn't it? And they had a look at you and they thought, well, yeah, you need a couple of weeks off and you can play again. It wasn't very scientific in those days.
It wasn't scientific, but I remember the old days at Hartlepool United when you had the North Sea, and that's if you had any kind of problems.
That's still there, I think.
Absolutely, and you had probably about 2 or 3 hours walking in the North Sea trying to fend off whatever injury that you had. No, there wasn't an awful lot of science to it, but today I could maybe argue the other way. There's probably a little bit too much science to it. When you're now getting grade 1, 2 and 3 is now grade 1 A, B, C, D, 2 A, B, C, D, 3 A, B, C. Now I'm thinking, where are we going with this? And it is, for me, all the manager wants to hear is, how long is he going to be out? How long is it before I can have him back on the training ground so I can get him back out there? Because that's all I deal in. That's my currency as far as I'm concerned. If physios want to talk A, B, C, D, that's their call. But we've got a young physio here that's hopefully going to blossom into one of the best physios in the country, hopefully. And she's had a little test with regards to loan players coming in and then picking up injuries. George Cooper, unfortunately, with a pectoral problem, that's going to require operation, and straight away a loan, 20 minutes into it, and the prospects of a young kid going on to hopefully good things is all of a sudden immediately halted by an injury from a sliding tackle. I mean, he couldn't write the script for the lad. I really felt for him because he's a hardy lad. He put his heart, soul, body, mind, the whole thing, he put it into that tackle. And I think he had given the ball away a couple of times before that, and the crowd were like, oh, come on, we need a little bit more than this before we get off our seats. But the round of applause that came and people off their seats because he went through a tackle, that tells me what the Kidderminster Harriers fans want to see. And unfortunately, George is now lying in a hospital bed for, unfortunately, having an operation on his pectoral muscle. Hopefully, come the end of the season, this is our bad moment where we've had 3 or 4 key injuries to key players. Hopefully we'll get them out the way now and the rest of the season will take care of itself. But who knows? Let's hope and pray, fingers crossed, we'll have a better second half, middle half and final half to the season, if there is such a thing as 4 halves.